Hi, I'm Natalie with Sparks of Joy Studio. In today's video, we will be upcycling some boxes, and I'm going to style them up for spring and make them a little bit unique. Let's get started. For our first project, I have this wooden box that I've already put some legs on and used some molds to kind of embellish it a little bit. I had painted it originally in Provincial, which is a cottage color by JRV and Debbie's Design Diaries, but I wanted to change it up. I wasn't too keen on how this came out when I finished. I wanted something a little bit more spring-like. So I'm using the last little bit of this folk art paint that I have. It is the color Oatmeal, and I'm going to paint the entire box in this color, including the feet. I've had this folk art paint in my stash for almost 4 years now, and one of my goals today is to use up as much of my paints as possible because I want to get new ones. And I'm really loving this color. I think this might be one of the ones that I decide to get again, and I'm actually going to be using it not just for this project, but because I wanted to finish it all the way up, I actually am mixing it with the color on the next project. Before that, I wanted to embellish the label on here a little bit more and make it a little springy. And we're going to go a little bit more, I guess, farmhouse with this. I'm just going to get my apothecary label stamps by IOD, and I'm going to be spelling out the word carrot on the front. As you can see, I have 2 sets of these apothecary labels, and that's just because it is much easier for me to use the sets together when I have 2 letters that I need, a double of any letter that I need. So it's just my personal preference. I like to have 2 sets of the letter stamps. For these tiny stamps, I prefer to use a hard type of stamp pad rather than the thin mount that comes with these IOD stamps, and that's just purely because I feel like it's easier for me to have a little bit more control. Those stamps are super tiny and placing them on is not easy. At least not placing them on so that they are even on the piece. I'm also grateful that I noticed that I had a Q instead of an O in the spot where I wanted to spell out carrot. So I had to quickly switch that up and restamp my stamps before stamping it onto the label. My folk art paint does need to be sealed, so I am going to be coming in with a clear wax first and covering the entire piece in that, and then coming back to use some dark wax as an embellishment. I did try out using both the black wax and the dark wax to kind of decide which one I felt would look better on this piece, and I'm going to show you kind of a comparison right now. The black wax is on the left and the dark wax is on the right, and I liked both of them. I feel like what I ended up doing is I used dark wax on the entire piece and then some extra black wax into the details of those castings that are on the legs of the box. I also used that black wax on the carrot sign on the front of the box. You will see that I am not using a lot of wax as I do this. I'm actually taking any extra that is on the lid of that container and using that to get these last little bits of wax onto my label. I will be selling this as a set along with those 5 fabric carrots. For my next project, I have another raised box that I already put molds, and then those little beads you see on the side are wood beads that have already been cut in half. And then I put some feet on this box. I have painted it in a darker color and then with, I believe, a lighter version of rose water, meaning I mixed it with a little bit of white. Then I tried to put some of the milk paint that came in Sonnet's last Maker's box, but I still wasn't a fan of the color, so we are changing it up again today. I still had the last little bits of that oatmeal on my parchment paper, and I decided to grab some Cowgirl Coral, which is another color I'm trying to use up, and I am going to be mixing them together, but not fully mixing, almost creating, I guess, like a messy ombre effect when I paint it onto my piece. This is where you can see that I added more paint, and as I did that, it ended up creating a lighter version of this coral color, which is why I'm calling it more of a messy ombre effect, because I do end up covering it wherever it needs to go, but it is more focused on the bottom part of the box. Now I'm going to be taking this adorable little napkin that I got off of Amazon. I actually got a big pack of them, and I wanted to do some decoupage with it. I'm getting much better at using the napkins for decoupage. I just still have to use the iron method. I do not do the method where it is still wet. A lot of other creators that I've watched, especially this past weekend during Sonnet's collab, I saw them do it completely with the napkin wet, and I'm super impressed how they were able to do that so perfectly. For the method that I'm using, I put my decoupage medium onto the piece that I'm decoupaging onto first, let it dry completely, and then lay my napkin down and use some parchment paper between the napkin and the iron or the heat press to kind of protect it, and that heat reactivates that decoupage medium and allows it to adhere perfectly. Now this little bunny will not be part of any of the projects today, but the reason I'm showing you this part is because that excess paper that I ripped off using that little sander right there, I'm going to be using that on the bunny that will be in today's piece. Here is a little bunny cutout from my laser cutter that I cut out this past weekend, and it actually was a mistake project, and you will see that as I glue it on. Obviously the front of this looks perfect. It has already been painted in white and the decoupage medium is down. I am taking the last little bits of that bunny paper and positioning it onto this bunny to decoupage this to look almost like a kind of abstract colored look onto the bunny. I will tell you that the left side of that bunny, where his booty is actually already where part of the bunny on the napkin was, like the bunny's body. But when you place it on in this manner, it doesn't even look like it was an animal's body at all. It kind of just looks like it's a bunch of colors meshed together, which I love. Once that decoupage medium and everything is dry, I am going to take some black wax and just embellish the edges of this little bunny to help her look a little bit more finished. Here is a clip of the back of the bunny, which is what used to be the front and was a mistake. As you can see, the lettering on the bottom got messed up. So that's okay. No wood gets left behind. We can absolutely use it for this project instead. I wanted to cover up that mold that is on the front. I just didn't feel like it worked with this piece. I have had this in my stash for a long time because I couldn't figure out what to do with it. It was painted in black and embellished in gold. It was then painted in brown. And then obviously you saw the rest of the colors that it was painted in. So I'm just going to sand it down a little bit just so that the glue will stick better. And then I'm going to use a mix between Gorilla Super Glue and some hot glue to adhere this bunny onto the front of my box. I know today's video was short and sweet, but I hope you enjoyed these two little boxes. I will see you again very soon. Have a wonderful week.